with special guests, feature stories, and a comprehensive look at Alabama's upcoming game. It's Crimson Tide Kickoff, brought to you by Alpha.
I played golf, and then on a Friday, and then Saturday I went to my lake house and just kind of hung out and looked at the lake, and I didn't do anything really.
I went home and just enjoyed time. My family, me and my dad, we sat down all Saturday and just watched college football.
And we're back from the bye week, and we're back right here on Crimson Tide Kickoff, live from the campus of the University of Alabama. I'm Gary Harris, and we've got a full 1 hour of CTKO presented by Alpha Insurance. Yes, it was the bye week last weekend, and like a lot of us, the Alabama football players took the opportunity to watch some football games and admitted it's hard to watch college football when you're not playing.
I watch, to try to learn and see what this guy could have done wrong or could have done better, things like that. So, it's really more analyzing than like watching it, as a fan rooting for somebody.
It's kind of weird watching it during the bye week, I guess, because, usually, on Saturdays, if we have a night game, you catch a game or two, then you head over to the stadium and get ready to play. But it's like I'm watching the game, but I'm not playing today, so it felt a little weird and kind of maybe a little hungry and kind of, in a way, motivational, honestly, just to get ready, get back to another week of work and get ready to go.
So we're back at work and ready to go. And we'll begin, as always, with Bama headlines.
For the latest on the Crimson Tide, you don't need the newspaper. You need Bama headlines.
And sure, the bye week gave the players an opportunity to watch some other teams around the country, but it also provided the Tide with a chance to get healthier, rest up, and prepare for the stretch run. This week also included the first college football rankings of the season. If it ended today, Alabama would be in the college football playoffs, but maybe not with the seed that most Bama fans expected. We'll delve deeper into the first poll coming up later in the show. But of course, our main focus is the Alabama-LSU rivalry, one of the best in the Southeastern Conference. While the Crimson Tide has cruised through the first 8 games of the season, it's been a roller coaster ride for the Tigers. However, this matchup always brings out a lot of passion, and will undoubtedly, of course, see that tonight inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. Well, last week the Crimson Tide fit in a few practices and a shortened week before letting the players celebrate over the weekend with their bye. But on Monday it was back to work for the Tide, a full week of game prep for LSU. The players say they were ready to return and energized from having some time off.
It was a great chance to kind of get my body back together, get our bodies back together, and kind of take a little bit of the stress of the season off and kind of relax for a little bit for a change. And it was a good break, but it's time to get back to work.
Your body feels a little better, but after that first day you're kind of sore. But you're fresh and you're ready to go.
Well, it's possible that even Coach SABAN relaxed a little bit during the time off. In fact, he was pretty chipper in Wednesday's post-practice press conference and had a very unique perspective for those that chose to listen.
I'd like to give everybody a little message, which I kind of feel, we all go around thinking, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to get up and go to work today. How about replacing have to with glad to? Glad to get up today, glad to go to work today, glad to have the opportunity, glad to be here. So that's how I'm feeling right now.
And Coach also had a message this week, another message. He said, this is the part of the season that defines your football team. Alabama will face 3 ranked teams in its final 4 games. The SEC West will be decided over the next month, and the Crimson Tide's identity will be further established. That was Saban's message to the media and also, of course, to his players.
This is a time where people start dipping down and start focusing on how they feel instead of focusing on what they're supposed to do. So you just got to tell yourself, you just got to keep working, keep staying focused, and just got to keep pushing.
And we put ourselves in a very good situation to be in a good place at the very end. So, we have to continue our success and continue to push forward and to be our best. If you lose at this point, you're kind of out of the running.
And as is custom, the LSU-Alabama game will be kicking off in prime time. And so we're going to bring in CTKO Chief Meteorologist Richard Scott to talk about today's weather and also the weather for tonight. Richard, what's in store? It's a little humid out here today.
Yeah, Gary, it is kind of muggy. You had the storms come in last night. Kind of cooled us off a bit, but the dew points are high, and you can feel that tropical air when you walk outdoors. At least it's a little bit of a breeze right now, kind of helping us out. Hey, let's go live to our camera on top of Bryant-Denny Stadium. Where is everybody? It's game day. I see, what, 2, 3 people out there? This is a live look over the Walk of Champions. Of course, it's a late game, so a lot of people getting a later start. But again, temperatures in the upper 60s in Tuscaloosa. So again, the temperature is a little cooler, but I can promise you it is going to get warmer. Let's go over to the radar and satellite loop and check out things. Here's the storms that blew through last night for West Alabama. A lot of rain in some areas. That was good. But again, we're in a break in the rain. See some showers back in North Mississippi, but I don't think we see a lot of rain today. Let's go over to the temperatures. And again, it's cooler this morning where it did rain. 68 in Tuscaloosa. You go up the road to Jasper, 77 now. But everybody's going to warm up. We'll put things into our future cast mode and show you the warm up this afternoon. Again, 72, pretty close to now. We'll be back at low 70s, but we'll advance into the afternoon. And look at the warm-up again. Upper 70s for most areas by 2:30. Let's go into the evening towards game time. And we will fall back in the upper 60s during the game. So if you're going to Bryant-Denny, hey, it's not going to be bad, but the humidity is going to be high. Let's put on the clouds and rain. I want to show you what's going to happen with that. We'll go into the afternoon, and we're still going to have some clouds around. Mostly cloudy to partly cloudy today, but you notice the rain, not much out there. Let's go into the evening and kind of advance towards game time. Not much. Again, there could be a stray shower, but I really think if you're heading out to the ball game this evening, the risk of rain during game time is very low, less than 20%. All right, so we got a big game happening. Let's check out the forecast for that. Alabama taking on LSU inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. I think there'll be a few more people here by then. 72 at 7 o'clock kickoff, low 70s by halftime, upper 60s into the game. Again, Gary, the game, not that bad, but the humidity level is going to be high, so it will feel a little more like April.
All right, Richard, thanks for that forecast. We'll check back with you later. Well, it was a busy week returning from the bye. In addition to Halloween, it was Coach Saban's 66th birthday, and he received a special celebration from his team. You'll want to see this. Plus, how does Tuscaloosa fill up so fast on game week? We'll head to the airport, the hub for the Crimson Tide Hawthorne Aviation. That's coming up here on Crimson Tide Kickoff.
You're watching Crimson Tide Kickoff on WVUA 23.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Coach Saban. Happy birthday to you.
Well, Nick Saban turned 66 on Tuesday, and he was greeted with party favors, cupcakes, and a beautiful rendition of Happy Birthday led by freshman defensive back Daniel Wright. That cat can sing, man. He's talented. If it doesn't work out in football, maybe we'll see him on the stage. Well, welcome back to CTKO. It was a week of celebration from Saban's birthday to Halloween, which, of course, was also on Tuesday. But on Monday night, trick-or-treaters showed up at the Hank Crisp Indoor Facility to participate in games, competitions, and, of course, getting candy. Representatives from all of the sports teams at the University of Alabama greeted the youngsters. Boy, Jalen Hurts' line was long, and including a good portion of the players, as you saw Jalen there from the Crimson Tide football team. It was a lot of fun. Well, Halloween, Saban's birthday, and the first edition of the college football playoff rankings. It was quite the birthday present for the coach as Alabama came in at number 2. I'm surprised a little bit. The Georgia Bulldogs ranked first in the debut rankings. Alabama is number 2, followed by Notre Dame and Clemson. Oklahoma and Ohio State are just on the outside looking in at 5 and 6. The rest of the top 10 includes Penn State, TCU, and then 2 undefeateds. Wisconsin at 9 and Miami at number 10. Now, Coach Saban doesn't think too highly of any of these midseason rankings, but they always ignite a good debate. So we bring in Zach Tigert for more on the first playoff rankings of the season.
With a grain of salt. And speaking to the team this week, it seems like the vibe around the team is that with these rankings, they really couldn't care any less.
No, it doesn't matter at all.
We just think about the next week, really, just being 1-0. And just playing the best game possible.
I mean, regardless of all those rankings or whatever the top 4 is. Our goal is to win. Every week we want to be 1-0 every week, and if we're in the top 4, we're in it. But that can change at any time.
These are the things that we try to categorize as poison that you really don't want your players to be focusing on or thinking about.
And maybe the Tide shouldn't be concerned. History has proven that the initial rankings typically vary drastically from the Final Four. In 2014, the debut rankings had Mississippi State at number 1, followed by Florida State, Auburn, and Ole Miss. Of those 4, only the Seminoles made the Final Four, and the eventual champs, the Ohio State Buckeyes, were ranked number 16. In 2015, Clemson debuted at number 1, followed by LSU, Ohio State, and the eventual champion Alabama at number 4. And last season's national championship loss may be indicative that the number 1 seed really shouldn't be coveted at all. Alabama topped the poll, followed by Clemson, Michigan, and Texas A&M. So maybe we should listen to Nick Saban, because a lot can change between now and December 3rd.
It's like getting on, like 2/3, 3/4 of the way up the mountain, and you're slanting on an icy slope, and you're worried about some airplane flying by and you fall and bust your ass. I mean, that's basically what's equivalent, rather than focusing on what you need to do to keep climbing.
And coming in at number 2, that gives Alabama the opportunity to either slide down that slippery slope or keep climbing that mountain all the way to the top. Gary, send it back to you.
Thanks, Zach. Good stuff. While we're talking numbers, let me throw out another 1 or 8. That's how many Alabama players have at least 1 receiving touchdown this season. 8 of them. With the development of 3 freshman wide receivers, the depth at the position is playing a big role on the Crimson Tide offense. Jerry Jeudy, Devonta Smith, and Henry Ruggs, all true freshmen, have combined for 7 of the Tide's 14 receiving touchdowns. They're all getting more playing time as they establish themselves as more than just freshman players.
Those guys come out and, they pretty much know their stuff. You can, they watch you and they learn, and, Coach Locks, helps them get new moves, and they learn pretty fast, and they're doing great.
Well, we're pleased with the way those guys have developed, and they've done a good job, and they've been productive, and we have confidence in them, and I think they have confidence in what we're doing, and they're not going out there making a lot of mental errors.
The receiver position is deep, but the punt return position, well, it's deep too. Just the problem is we've seen Trayvon Diggs and Henry Ruggs and Marks as well struggle at that position catching the football. Mika Fitzpatrick, is he a possibility? Coach Saban said the Crimson Tide safety does return punts in practice, and Mika said he would love to get the opportunity in a game.
I did a little bit. I did some kick returns, some other special teams in high school, and I just enjoy having the ball in my hands. I miss it. I played offense in high school too, and so anytime I get a chance to have the ball in my hands, I try to do whatever I can to get in the end zone.
When we see you do that, Saturday?
Oh, that's up to the boss.
Always up to the boss, and we know who that is. Stick around. We've got plenty more Crimson Tide kickoff still to come. Up next, it's our first guest of this program. New Alabama baseball coach Brad Bohannon will join me on the set here on campus. We'll be right back after this short timeout.
He's a strict coach, but as far as he wants us to play loose because he wants us to be competitive, and he's done a great job with that as far as making us play loose and not screaming on the field and stuff like that.
The Alabama baseball team wrapped up fall practice this week under new head coach Brad Bohannon, and hopefully he won't be screaming at us. Brad Bohannon is with us here live on Say. Good to see you, Coach.
Hey, Gary, thanks for having me.
The players have described you as laid back, and I don't think that bothers you at all.
Not at all. I mean, I think as a head coach, you have to be yourself, and you look across all sports at different levels, and everybody has different personality, and I don't think you can have a new position and try to be somebody that you're not.
You came in here in the spring, you hit the ground running, recruiting, getting organized, getting your staff together, but now over the last few weeks, it's been about baseball, and I know the fall maybe is a little bit different from when you start up in January because you're not preparing to play any games, but I would assume, too, you can work on fundamentals, you're getting to know your team. Just how important was that session and how productive was it?
Yeah, it was really weird the first 3 months that I was a head coach. I'm like, hey, I'm ready to start building our team. And there's obviously a lot of work you do to build a program besides being on the field. But once we started practicing, we just finished our team segment. So we have fall practice just like football's version of spring practice. And we have a 45-day window to have 27 practices. And we just finished that this week. And I thought we really grew a lot. And it really took the first half of the fall for us to kind of get on the same page of expectations and terminology and really the second half before we could really start building.
As you come out of fall, and as you said, you're getting to know your team, they're getting to know you, but you have gotten to see them now. You had your Inter-Squad World Series this week, couple of games. What do you think of this team? I mean, I know you've got some more time once you start back in the first year to get ready to play your season, but do you think you've got a chance in the SEC to be a competitive ball club?
Well, we've got some good pieces. We have an older group of position players, and whoever's playing on opening day, we're going to have a lot of SEC at-bats under our belt. So I feel very confident that we're going to have a good hitting team. I think we made a lot of strides in defending the field, and the biggest question mark going into the season is going to be roles on the pitching staff. Sure. And, we had some guys that didn't pitch this fall we expect everybody to be good to go opening weekend, but I think even the first month of the season you could see some musical chairs of trying to get the right guys in the right spots.
I read where you said personality-wise, you just like your team. You like the guys. And I know it's about playing baseball, but that is a pretty good aspect if you come into a new situation and you like the players and the players like the staff. It got to help.
It's huge, and this is the third SEC school that I've coached at, and I tell everyone that the foundation for our program is in a much better place than the other places I walked into. And we have good kids, and they try really hard. And I mean, it sounds trite, but it's just a great place to start. I hope the kids feel the same way. I look forward to going to the field every day. I enjoy my time with them. I feel like we've connected on a personal level, and that's a great place to start.
You also said, you worked hard during the fall, and then the Fall World Series, it's about competition. Anytime you pick teams, guys want to win, but you said the main thing is you wanted them to have fun. Did they enjoy those couple of games?
I sure think so, and, the last 3 days we tried as a coaching staff just to sit back and let them play, and, baseball's such a mental sport. There's so much failure, and, we've talked a lot with the kids about how to have a mature response to short-term failure, because that's going to happen every single day in our game. And I think in our sport, when you're loose and aggressive, that's when you're at your best. And I tried really hard to create that environment this fall, and especially the last week. Lastly,
you're going through your first football season, and Alabama's undefeated as usual. What's I know you've been working with your team, but what's that been like, experiencing a football season here at UA?
Yeah, I had to watch 12 years of Kentucky football, so I'm not taking this for granted, okay? I don't leave the games early. I'm loving it. So, what Coach SABAN and his folks have done with our program to create a national brand. And, this is a huge part of the college experience, and we've had a ton of recruits and families here for these football weekends. We've got a small village of young baseball players in today, and I'm excited to share tonight's experience with them.
Yeah, it does not hurt recruiting, that's for sure. Good to see you, Coach.
Thank you, Gary.
Thanks for your time. Well, coming up next, we'll go deeper on LSU. Look at the Tigers. Saban says they're the best opponent that Alabama will face this season. We'll have more on LSU after this break.
We had to find a way how to win, and, we couldn't just settle. I mean, we had them scoreless for 3 quarters, and, I mean, we know that they have really good, talented players, so, we just had to keep on going.
Oh, it was a hard game last year. We fought all the way to the end, and I think that's how it's going to be this year. So it's going to be LSU games always a tough game.
And welcome back to Crimson Tide Kickoff, presented by Alpha Insurance. I'm Gary Harris, live on the campus of the University of Alabama. Well, it's a football rivalry that goes all the way back to the 19th century, but the intensity has certainly heightened over the last decade. Alabama has the edge in the series, but the first stretch of dominance for Alabama was 1971 to 1981. The Tide won 11 in a row during that time period under Coach Bryant against Charlie McAlexander and others, or Charlie McClendon and others. And Alabama was looking for its 10th straight win at Bryant-Denny Stadium in 1980. The Tide coming off its first loss in nearly 3 seasons, the week before in Jackson, Mississippi, against Mississippi State 6-3. But the Tide responded with a convincing 28-7 win over LSU. Major Ogilvie had a pair of touchdowns in the victory, and Bama carried the Tide to a 10-2 record that season in 1980. Well, the last time Alabama and LSU played in Bryant-Denny was 2 years ago. Leonard Fournette came into the game with a lot of Heisman talk surrounding him, but it was the real Heisman winner, Derrick Henry, that stole the show. Henry had 210 yards and 3 touchdowns as Bama won easily 30-16 en route to a 16th national championship. And Fournette couldn't even get a first down in that game. Well, Alabama's won nearly 2/3 of the games played in this long series. After that 11-game streak in the 70s and early 80s, the Tide is riding its second longest win streak right now since the two teams started playing. Alabama is looking for its 7th consecutive win over the Tigers tonight. Overall, Alabama is 12-7 in Tuscaloosa, so LSU has had some success here. And the games, for the most part, are close. There have been 4 overtime games played since 2005. As for Coach Saban, he's 8-3 at Alabama against his former team, and that, of course, includes that national championship game following the 2011 season. It's a great rivalry that, in a way, has become the Saban rivalry.
This, game has turned into a huge rivalry through the years since I've been here, especially, I guess, but probably even before that. But since 2007, I think both teams have been ranked in the top 20 in each one of these games that we've played, and I don't think this one's, really any different.
This is why we come here. This as a player, that's why you come to the University of Alabama or to LSU for that case. They're tough games. They're hard hitting. Nose to nose, just mano a mano.
There's a lot of great players on the field. Over the past couple of years, when you watch this game, Alabama versus LSU, you see 10, 15 guys that all end up playing at the next level. So you got a lot of talented guys, a lot of physical freaks, and just guys that know how to play football.
Well, last year, Alabama was a solid favorite going into Baton Rouge, but this was a tight one, scoreless going into the fourth quarter. This year, the Tide is once again favored. LSU is ranked 19th in the country, but Alabama is a 21-point favorite. The Tigers are a pretty solid football team. That's a big spread. But Alabama isn't taking LSU for granted. In fact, an early season shocking loss to Troy is what changed the perspective on this team. But they've won 3 in a row in the SEC, and Nick Saban says they are a different team now.
LSU has gotten better as the season has gone on. Probably the worst thing that happened for all of us in the SEC is when they lost to Troy. They've really made a turnaround as a team, which I think speaks volumes of the coaching staff and the job that Ed Ogeron has done there to get the players to recenter, refocus, work on improving. They've been very productive since that time and playing very, very well as a team.
Here's how LSU ranks in the SEC. The Tigers are 9th in the league in scoring offense, averaging just over 27 points per game. They're 5th in scoring defense. They only allow 20 points per game. But Bama will have to be careful covering punts. LSU has 2 punt return touchdowns. You remember that one against Auburn for sure. And they're 2nd in the conference in return average. They're also 2nd in sacks with 26 this season. However, one area that's been an issue for them, LSU has the most penalties in the conference. And that's part of the reason Coach Saban called for the fans to be loud tonight inside the stadium. As usual, this could be a defining game for Ed Ogeron and LSU. Since he took the job midseason last year, Coach O has not shied away from talking about beating Alabama. And to his credit, his only time facing the Crimson Tide as LSU head coach was last year's nail-biter in Death Valley. But he's 0-4 all-time at LSU and Ole Miss against the Tide. But he knows how big this game is for his program. And it could be a game changer, not just for the team, but for him personally.
I mean, this is the game. Everywhere I go, they talk about this. This is the game. But you know what? I'm not going to make it so used to our players that they won't be able to play. We're going to be ready to play. And obviously, we got 4 games left on our schedule. This one's the next one, so it's important. I think this is huge for us in recruiting. I think this is huge because they have won the SEC. They have won national championships, and they're on top of the world right now. So this is the benchmark.
In recent years, this has been more of a defensive series. Only once in the last 10 games has a team scored more than 30 points. Now that brings us our social media poll of the week. And for that, we go inside the WVUA 23 studios to Brandon KAMERMAN. Brandon?
That's right, Gary. Last year was wild. You mentioned it, scoreless into the fourth. 2 years ago, LSU didn't get on the board until midway through the second quarter. So our question is, when does LSU score first in tonight's game? This one was close, maybe the closest social media poll of the season. 44% say second half, while a third of all voters have LSU scoring in the first half. 23% they see this game going kind of like last year's game. They see Alabama shutting LSU out for the second straight season. Now that shutout, if it happened, would be the third in the last 6 years, including the 2012 BCS championship. And it would be the first back-to-back shutout since 1930. Gary, we'll go back to you.
Thank you, Brandon. Well, Alabama and LSU battle each other every November, but the competition continues throughout the year in recruiting. And lately, Alabama has been winning some recruiting battles in the state of Louisiana. 10 players on the Crimson Tide roster are from the Sportsman's Paradise, and that includes defensive lineman Isaiah Buggs, who, according to teammate Deron Payne, has pictures of his recruitment by LSU hanging in his locker for motivation. Typically, LSU dominates recruiting its in-state talent, but Alabama has made that a challenge for the Tigers. We'll keep it tuned to WVUA 23. Crimson Tide Kickoff is still chugging right along. We'll bring in our next guest when we come back. West Alabama Chamber of Commerce President and CEO Jim Page joins me live on the set. That's next on CTKO. Stick around.
Welcome back to Crimson Tide Kickoff. I'm Shelby Valentine. I'm here with Chandler on the quad. And Chandler, tell me, what are your game day activities going to be today?
Well, it's going to be hanging out the tailgate, and we're going to be getting hyped and watching other games and getting ready for this game. And when we go in the game, it's going to get loud, and we're going to have a lot of fun. I can promise you that.
Are you excited to go into Bryant-Denny?
Oh, I am. Every time I go in there, it's just a blast. And I cannot wait to go in there and especially beat the freaking Tigers' pants off.
Awesome. Well, do you have a score prediction for us today?
I'm saying 31-10.
Okay. How often do you get to come down to games here?
We go to all the big home games. We have home season tickets, so every time we can get down here, we love to be here.
Awesome. Well, all the way from Huntsville, Alabama, in-state boy, here for the game. Can I get a big Roll Tide?
Roll Tide!
All right, back to you.
Not hard to get a Roll Tide around here, is it, Shelby? And welcome in to our next guest, Chamber of Commerce President and CEO Jim Page. Jim, good to see you.
Thank you, Gary. Glad to be here.
And I guess when you're the president and CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, you got a big football game like this, and Chamber of Commerce weather, for the most part, it feels like summer in November. Not a bad little way to promote the city, is it?
No, this is about as good as it gets, so pretty good day.
What all you got going on? I mean, I mean, it's not just downtown. I understand that, but man, I drive downtown, and I'm really getting the feeling I'm in a big metropolitan area now. Man, it's buzzing down there.
We really are punching above our weight class, as I like to say, in terms of growth and just the things we're able to bring to this community. And so much of it goes right back to this. It goes back to the growth of the university, what Coach SABAN has been able to do since he got here in elevating the University of Alabama brand. Nationally, internationally. When we talk to retailers and restaurants and folks that want to invest money, you know, Tuscaloosa's on the tip of their tongue. They know what's going on here. They know it's a vibrant market and will be for the foreseeable future. So everything that's happened with the university makes our job a little bit easier in terms of selling what we have here as a product. It's pretty easy when you're riding a high like this.
So as a Chamber of Commerce, that's a big part of what you're working on, is your partnership with the University of Alabama to grow the entire community.
Absolutely. We don't have any better partner than the University of Alabama on a variety of fronts, trying to make this community better. But in terms of just growing the tax base and making this a good place to do business, a good place to live, a good place to raise a family and to have a good time, we've got all the ingredients. And the role the university plays, the economic impact in students living here, in faculty and staff and employment, and just making this such a high-quality location, it's a great thing. And with my job and the organization I represent, we're extremely blessed. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
You mentioned the business owners, and whether it's small local business owners or corporate businesses that are coming in, are people happy? Are people happy when they come in here and open a business with what's happening here?
Very much so. I could rattle off a list of retailers, restaurants, others that have got locations in other places, and they're amazed at the amount of business they do here, the high-quality business. It's a friendly place to do business, which not every area can say, and so that just speaks to the community here. And again, I talk about the effect on the tax base. You know, when you've got almost 40,000 students here, that their buying power off campus is significant. It's almost $400 million a year. Those numbers jump off the page when you put it in front of a business owner, that not only the 100 or so thousand people that call Tuscaloosa home permanently, but the students that are here like to get out and enjoy the community, and that just helps us bring more amenities to town. So it's really a perfect storm. Really, if you think about it in those terms.
Our final 30 seconds. Any projects that you're working on that you can tell us about that you're excited about?
We're continuing to bring in new to the market retail, restaurants, that sort of thing, so that this is a great place to come and shop and spend disposable income, which is music to my ears. We're also investing a lot in infrastructure in this community. That's not a very sexy topic to talk about,
but it's needed.
But we've outgrown it, and so we are spending as a community millions and millions of dollars on road improvements, upgrades. There'll be a little bit of growing pains with that, but when it's all said and done, this city can compete with anybody in terms of ease of access and continuing to grow this beautiful capstone.
Yeah, that's important. You got to keep up with the growth. Thank you, Jim. Good to see you, man.
Thank you. Roll Tide.
Well, coming up next, we'll head out to the Tuscaloosa Regional Airport for a look at some of the visitors Tuscaloosa receives each and every game week. That's after this time out on Crimson Tide Kickoff.
You're watching Crimson Tide Kickoff on WVUA 23.
Welcome back to Crimson Tide Kickoff, presented by Alpha Insurance. I'm Gary Harris. LSU always brings in a good crowd of people. Some estimate the city of Tuscaloosa grows by nearly double on game days. And some of those people come in through Hawthorne Aviation Service at Tuscaloosa Regional Airport, and that's where we find our Bethany Miller. Bethany?
Hey, Gary, I'm here deep in the heart of Tuscaloosa at an airport that's responsible for helping Alabama fans and LSU Tiger fans travel their way into Tuscaloosa for the game. If you've ever wondered how Tuscaloosa can get so crowded on big game day weekends, look no further than Hawthorne Airport, a small bustling airport located deep in the heart of T-Town that puts the customer's needs ahead of everything else.
The goal is to really take care of all their needs, because their hassle, they don't want to be here is on the ground that long. They want to be visiting with their kids here for Parents Weekend, or they want to be at the game, what have you. So we try to make that seamless as possible.
But with a college town focused on one thing during the fall, the crew at Hawthorne Airport sees the air traffic skyrocket.
Or any SEC game is going to be an event here with the university and the publicity and everything that goes on with that. So the typical weekend for us could start Thursday evening and run until Monday morning. The prime traffic is going to be Friday evening and Sunday.
And it's not just the fans that the airport sees as well.
There's a lot of folks that are the newscasters for the ESPNs, the different varieties of sports anchors that come in to call the games and such. We'll get those folks. And then you'll get a lot of business owners, alumni, just fan base too.
And what would a typical game day in Tuscaloosa be without the football teams?
So we deal with the visiting team as well as when our team travels. Generally during halftime, the visiting team's aircraft will land, and then as soon as the game's over, they post-game interviews, showers and such, and then they bus and they come straight to the airport and then they go home. Most people don't realize that our team and the visiting team, whatever they're doing, they're generally home that same night.
And another thing that those in Tuscaloosa may not know is that Hawthorne Airport is actually responsible for housing those fighter jets that fans can see above the stadium in Bryant-Denny. And I hear that there's a special surprise in store for those fans tonight. Reporting live from Hawthorne Airport in Tuscaloosa for Crimson Tide Kickoff, I'm Bethany Miller.
Thank you, Bethany. Great job. As I mentioned earlier, Coach Saban referred to this upcoming stretch of games as the stretch that will define the football team at Alabama and also define the SEC West, because although the Tide is out front, things could change if Alabama slips up. Here's a look at the current standings. Alabama is 5-0, but the Crimson Tide has to play its next 3 games in the standings against really good teams. Auburn's just a game back at 4-1, followed by LSU, Mississippi State, and Texas A&M. Then Arkansas and Ole Miss are tied for last in the division. Over in the East, it's Georgia with a commanding lead. South Carolina gets a shot at the Dogs today, though. They're in second place, followed by Kentucky, Florida, and Missouri. Then the winless Tennessee Volunteers are tied with Vanderbilt for last place. So LSU could really stir things up tonight if they can get things going. All right. It's time for some kickoff cooking now, and that is always one of our favorite segments with Debbie Sanford and John Copeland, presented by Ziegler Meats.
Welcome to Kickoff Cooking. Debbie, what are we making today?
We're making jambalaya today.
That sounds good. I love jambalaya.
I love it too, and this is an easy, good recipe. I have some onions, some green peppers, and some celery here, and I'm gonna add those to some oil and saute them. If you will chop that nice Ziegler's.
You know, Debbie, when you make me work, I take half the credit.
You do, and I'm gonna give you half the credit.
Right.
That Ziegler's plantation sausage is going into our jambalaya, and while you do that, I'm going to saute some onions, green pepper, and celery. I also had a little bit of chopped garlic in there. And to these vegetables, while you're finishing up that sausage, I'm gonna add some salt and pepper, some Cajun seasoning, some cayenne pepper. And that's gonna give it that little kick that we want.
All right, I'm ready.
I'm ready for you.
All right.
Yep.
So,
I'm gonna give you some room. We're also gonna add in some boneless, skinless chicken thighs that I've cut into small cubes. So you brown everything, get your chicken done, get your sausages done.
So you just put a little cooking oil in that, I'm assuming?
I did, a little vegetable oil. And we're gonna cook all that till it's done. So when you feel like that chicken's done, and it's not pink anymore, I added in a little kitchen bouquet.
Now what is that?
Well, they call it like a browning sauce. It gives it a little color and a little taste, sort of along the line of a Worcestershire flavor.
Gotcha.
It's just some goodness added
Never heard
in.
of that.
It's good. It makes it really good. So we got everything done, and we're gonna add in 8 cups of chicken stock and 4 cups of regular long grain rice. So we let this come up to a boil. It needs to be a good rolling boil, and that is when the magic happens. Put the lid on this, and now this is the key to making good jambalaya. Once you put the lid on this, 20 minutes, don't peek.
See, that's almost impossible for me.
Well, you're gonna have to do
I
it.
have to peek.
You can't peek, you can't peek.
Now, why is that though?
Well, it just lets the rice soak in all the flavor that we just made, and it gets the rice done so you don't have a little undone rice in the middle.
So in 20 minutes, it's done.
It makes it happen. I've got some that I made a little earlier. Do you want to taste it?
I would love to.
That's pretty good, huh?
20 minutes, that makes sense.
20
you can
minutes.
taste it all in the rice.
Yep, and you can turn the heat off and let it sit a little bit longer, but don't peek during that 20 minutes before you turn the heat off. That's the key.
And them Ziegler sausage, you can just taste the flavor in them, you know?
It does give it a good flavor.
Yeah, I
So,
think you did it again. Great job.
thank you. Roll Tide.
I'm just ready to get this year started. I'm ready. I just can't wait to see what this team has in store. Just from coming in every single day, from workouts to individuals, and seeing how much our freshmen and everyone else is buying into this year. I mean, I think it's going to be a great year, and I can't see what's in store for us.
Demi Turner's healthy, and she's biting at the bit. Here to talk more about what's in store is Demi Turner's head coach, the old Iowa farm boy himself, Patrick Murphy, about to enter season 20 as the head softball coach at Alabama. Man, that's hard to imagine. It's hard to coach 20 years at one place.
I remember I was in the coach's locker room getting ready for practice one day, and Todd Butler, I don't know if you remember that
Todd,
name.
assistant baseball coach.
Yes,
yeah.
he was a great recruiter,
Really
just a
was.
good guy. And I had just gotten the job maybe 3 weeks before that, and he looked at me and he goes, Murph, if you do what you're supposed to do, you could be here for 25 years. And I looked at him, I was like, Todd, you are crazy. And now I'm 3 years away.
Yeah, and you may wind up doing 30, the way you got it going here. Hey, last year was an interesting season. You battled some injuries. You had some tough spots. Demi Turner, of course, key. But at the end of the year, you really came together, made that nice run, almost got back to Oklahoma City. I know some of those players are gone, but you'll be looking to build off that momentum with this team coming up.
Well, you know, we lost Sydney Littlejohn, Marissa Runyon, and Chandler Dare. 3 great young ladies, all got their degree. 2 got 2 degrees from Alabama. But you were right with Demi Turner. You know, when she got hurt up at Missouri, it really kind of deflated us. And I didn't realize how big of an impact she had. But after 7 weeks, we realized that we went from scoring almost 6 runs a game to almost less than 2 without her in the lineup. And you're right, this fall, this is like the first time since her freshman year she actually got to play in the fall, because she had been injured in the fall as well.
That's crazy.
So hopefully she'll be with us for 56 to 65 games. And the freshmen have done really well, like she said in that clip.
Yeah, you got some good ones.
Yeah, we're anxious to see what they can do in a live game.
Any team that has Alexis Osorio heading its pitching staff is going to have to be dealt with. But you lost Little John, as you mentioned. Maddie Moore had to retire from softball. How are you going to supplement that pitching staff behind Alexis?
We've got a freshman from Missouri who's about a 5'11", 6 foot tall drop ball pitcher.
Oh, wow.
And she's totally different than Lexi and the other young lady that we have. And the third pitcher is a girl named Courtney Gettins. She's from New Zealand. You're going to love interviewing her. She's just a terrific young lady with a great outlook on life. But she pitched at a junior college in Florida, whose coach was Robert Iamurray, the father of Ryan Iamurray, who played for us.
Here, yeah.
And Robert had called us and said, hey, you need to come down and look at this kid. She pitches for the New Zealand national team.
Right.
She'll play in the World Championships next summer in Tokyo. And both of them did really well all fall. We won all 8 games, and I was pleased with both pitchers, both catchers, and then the team defense I thought was really improved.
Should be fun. Fall really productive for you? You like what you got out of it?
Yeah. We had a great time. Everybody worked hard, working through a couple injuries. Kerrigan Fain had to have surgery right after fall ball, but she'll be back in about 4 to 6 weeks.
30 seconds. 20 years. Won national championship, numerous SEC titles, trips to the World Series. You got to continue to feed that monster. That's the thing. You've built this great program. Now the SEC all around you has come up as well. I know it's a battle, but I guess it's what makes it fun.
Oh yeah, and you know if it isn't fun, you shouldn't be in this league.
Right.
And you know the one thing that's helped us, the constant throughout this has been our fans.
Right.
We've led the nation in attendance for 13 years in a row, and they just keep coming out, helping us, and it's the biggest home field advantage in college softball.
No doubt about it. Good to see you, Murph.
Yes, sir.
Good luck in 18. Coming up, the Alabama defense could get a big boost tonight. We'll have the latest injury update when we return. That's coming up next right here on Crimson Tide Kickoffs. You stay tuned for more. Josh Jacobs missed some practice time during the bye week with a minor injury, but he's good to go tonight against LSU. Deshaun Hand, still a little bit of a question mark. The good news is, number 9, the senior defensive lineman, practiced this week, and it was his first week of practice since injuring that knee against Ole Miss. And honestly, I think we're going to see him play in the game.
Oh, Deshaun looking good, and I can tell he really happy to be back out there, and I'm excited for him.
I don't think we'll be able to know whether he'll be able to play or not until pregame. He's been medically cleared, but still, anytime a player's coming off of injury, I think that player's got to have confidence that he can go out there and do his job well, and I usually talk to the player about that, and we'll make a decision in pregame on his status for the game.
And welcome back to Crimson Tide Kickoff. So we'll have to wait and see if Hand can give Alabama and Linda Hand tonight in the game. We do know the Crimson Tide will not have third-string quarterback Mac Jones available. Jones was arrested early Friday morning and charged with driving under the influence and was later suspended by Coach Saban for the LSU game. Jones hasn't played this season and is likely going to redshirt, but Coach Saban said he is disappointed in Mac's actions. It's that time of the show now for our Capstone Village Wild Predictions of the Week. Brandon and Zach are standing by with their bold picks. Brandon, kick it off for us, man.
Well, Gary, I wasn't so sure on whether this is actually that bold considering Alabama shut LSU out for the whole game last year, but it's pretty impressive to shut out an SEC team for a half. But that's what I think is going to happen in this game. I see LSU being held scoreless in the first half of tonight's game, and Alabama's defense, they're excited after what happened last year, so that's how I see it playing out in the first half. Zach, what's your bold prediction?
Well, Brandon, I expect this game to be relatively close, and I think that means that Jalen Hurts will actually play all 4 quarters, and I think that's going to be a good thing for Jalen and the Crimson Tide offense. I'm predicting that number 2 will toss 4 touchdown passes through the air for Jalen Hurts. I think Alabama's really going to get that passing game going. Gary, What about you? What's your wild
Well,
prediction?
Zach, I'm in direct conflict with you because I think that Tua Tagovailoa is going to play in the first half of this game. Clearly, Jalen's the starter, but I think Tua has earned the opportunity to play, and I think the coaching staff, Brian Dable and company, are going to want to mix it up a little bit tonight and give Dave Aranda and that LSU defensive staff some different looks. So I think Tua not only plays tonight, but I think he gets in the first half. We shall see. That's why they're called wild predictions, after all. And look at this. Richard Scott has walked over from around the Walk of Champions, and you decided to come over here and join me today.
Of course, long walk. I want to enjoy the humidity with you.
Well, I'm going to tell you, though, you were right. You said earlier it's a little bit of a breeze, though.
Yeah.
And it's actually pretty nice out here.
Not really that bad, Gary. And I think by the time we get to the game time, it will start to cool back off a little bit. Between now and then, it gets kind of hot. But look at 7 o'clock, Gary. We've got low 70s, upper 60s by the end of the game. I don't think we see any rain during game time at Bryant-Denny. So, again, a little humid out there, so prepare for that.
Yeah, not too bad. I guess it's better than 30-something degrees and sleet.
Yes.
All right, thanks, Richard. That's a wrap for us here on Crimson Tide Kickoff. If you missed any of tonight's show, then that's not a problem. You can catch it at WVUA23.com, or you can catch a replay right before the game. All right, thanks to our crew. And, boy, looking for more big hits like that tonight against LSU. That's CTKO. Have a great day, everybody. Roll Tide.